Hi.
Hi.
I'm just reading some of these people's senior quotes, and they're so funny. Tom's not joining us today.
Loser.
Oh, shoot, I'll just, whatever. Okay. Oh, interesting. It's already showing me English 102. That just popped up today. That wasn't there yesterday. Like the Power School stuff. Which will just be us plus Kinsey.
102? Wait, what? Oh, okay.
Assuming, of course, that you all pass 101, which you should. Okay, we are going to chat about the school shooter thing. I don't know, Madison, if you were able to read it or not, but there's a link to it on whatever that platform is that we use, D2L. And basically the whole thing was saying that like we should not, like for all these school shootings and stuff, we shouldn't release people's names, like the shooters' names, because it gives them too much attention. I feel like the lamplight behind me is doing something weird.
Super foggy.
Right? What's the deal? It's like,
It's also the light from the window that's doing the same thing.
huh.
Might be your camera. There you're something on your camera.
Maybe I was looking for something to like wipe off my camera with. I have nothing. Hang on. I don't know if it's gonna help anybody. That is better, actually. Not that like streaky light anymore. Okay. So let's chat about this thing. I'm trying to find my questions. Where are they? I have a new computer and I don't know, like some things are different and now I don't know where to find things. Where's my Adobe Reader? Why don't I have that? Very strange, very strange. Okay, so what was really like the whole point of this person saying that news organizations should avoid giving mass shooters much attention? Like, why should we not give them attention?
I think it had to do with a lot of the psychology of the people that do these mass shootings and like the motives that they have, and like some of it could be that they just want the attention. And I think you talked about that you guys read
Columbine?
that book. Yes, and that one of them was literally like insane and just wanted to be like a god or whatever. And I
Yeah.
feel like it it talks about like some of that and how basically that.
Yeah. That like the more attention we give them, the more it kind of glorifies them and like what they did. And if people are already like kind of unhinged to begin with, then seeing that attention might kind of inspire them to do it too.
Yeah, it almost gives them more of a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, I don't want to, like, that's
Right.
pretty intense of a, that's a pretty,
Right.
almost an accusation.
I don't think anybody thinks you're saying like, you know what you should do if you want some attention. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not, no one thinks that. But if, you know, if someone is already unhinged or, you know, massively depressed or a psychopath, and if they're like just looking for attention and don't see anything wrong with it, or like already have an inclination that they might want to do that and see all these other people like getting attention for it, then it might help them kind of like tip over that edge and do it too. Which like it seems so crazy to me to be like, I mean, of course it seems crazy because like none of us are shooters. But to be like, oh, this thing that this person did was really cool and like they're getting so much attention for it and I want similar attention. I guess it's that kind of thing of like any publicity is good publicity. Like I don't think that they care that literally everyone else is saying they're a monster. Like their names are still being said in the media. So
Yeah.
like bad attention is not necessarily bad for them. But that's pretty messed up. So when she describes the problem, what kind of evidence, like stats or testimonial or whatever, does she use to describe the problem or to like to convince us that it is a problem?
She mentioned the most recent ones, the big ones, and
Mhm.
how they have happened in, like, how the 10 biggest shootings or something like that happened in this short amount of time. And she mentioned something like the frequency of shootings went from once every like 200 and something days or something to once every 60 something days. I'm trying to find that right now.
I'm trying to find that too, actually. What did I do with this site? Mm. Oh, here we go.
To 64. Yeah, from an average of 200 between 83 and 2011 to 64 since 2011.
Yeah. And I sort of was like, I remember pausing during that part because I was looking at it and I was like, I don't know if that's a totally fair statistic because it's a longer time period between 1983 and 2011, isn't it? I mean, I'm so bad at math, but isn't it? It is.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, like they're not measuring equal amounts of time. Like the
Oh, yeah,
average
that's true.
between 1983 and 2011 to 64 since 2011. But
No,
I
I
don't,
think I think that's just showing how intense it is because 2011 to currently is shorter than previously and it's even worse.
yeah.
So maybe that was just used to emphasize how bad it is.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know, this actually, I feel like I brought this up with my other class when we read Columbine, but I used to like really be kind of anti Colorado because like the first thing I really remember about Colorado was the Columbine shooting, which happened when I was in fifth or sixth grade. And then they had that, which is mentioned in the thing, the Aurora, Colorado shooting in the movie theater during a screening of Dark Knight. And I was like, Colorado is just like a horrible place. Like people get killed all the time in Colorado, which like my best friend spent a couple of summers there and she was like, you would love it here. And I was like, I'm not trying to get murdered, okay? But clearly it's like kind
That's
of an
funny.
outlier.
Yeah.
Things happen everywhere.
I'm pretty sure Tom went there this past summer and he loved it.
And he lived, so
Exactly.
I
But yeah,
think
I'm
you're
pretty
right.
sure it's just a very pretty place in general.
Yeah, and the like going to a concert at Red Rocks is like on my bucket list. I definitely want to go. It'd be a cool place. Yeah, so she has all this, like she has stats to back up what she's saying, or at least to not back up what she's saying exactly, but to like
emphasize it,
yeah, to emphasize like
her
what
point.
she's saying. Because if she didn't have these stats about how like the time that goes by between shootings is so much shorter now than it was like 30 years ago, then we might not get the point as well. So counter arguments obviously are like when you acknowledge that someone might have an opposing viewpoint, but then say like, I get it, but here's why that doesn't really work. So are there counter arguments that she kind of acknowledges in the essay, or what does she?
Doesn't she say some perhaps denying mass killers the attention they seek won't have any effect? Oh, that's not really a counter argument.
Like that's not a counter argument, but
Yeah, but like it's basically just saying it might not do anything,
yeah,
but it might actually help.
if that's the only counter argument she has, then it's
Yeah,
not
I
great.
don't remember.
I'm kind of looking back through it. I don't know if I would consider this a counter argument, but it's at least an interesting point that she says we expect our presidents to serve as national grief counselors in these moments, but it's possible that this attention is also putting too much power into the hands of mass killers. While a presidential visit may comfort the grieving, is it worth it if it also gratifies the murderer's rage for attention and spurs some future attention-seeking monster? So kind of saying that like you would expect the president or even like other higher up people like governors and stuff to
address them.
Yeah, to address it, and that would be comforting, that to see that outreach, which I think is true. Like I think that is comforting when things happen. I think about like last year in AP we watched George W. Bush's address after 9/11, which is not a shooting but still like a horrible thing that happened. And his speech like really did help bring the country together a little bit. Like well, even knowing that he was not known as a great public speaker at all, his speech really did like kind of give people some comfort and like something to look to. But the way that she addresses that as being like a counter argument is like, even if that is comforting for us, it might also like gratify the murderers like quest for attention, and possibly even show that there are show other people who might want to do that in the future that hey, like you'll get some attention even from the president, so that ultimately it wouldn't really be worth it.
Yeah. Although I feel like yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like the president addressing it is just like such a small fraction of publicity in comparison to everything else, like all the news stations and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a good point in saying like you'll even get attention from the president, and that's also a pretty big deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, like that is such a small part of what's going on. Like I don't feel like people really dwell on the fact that like the president came to wherever something like that happened. Did the president come here when Dylan Roof shot up the church? It was like a couple years before I moved here, so I don't really remember.
That was Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he came here. That's when he sang Amazing Grace, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh, you're right. You're so right. Oh.
Yeah. I was just thinking about
Yeah. And that's, I guess that especially if, I don't know, like if it were under any other circumstances, I'd be like, oh, it's really cool that the president's visiting. So it is like kind of a big deal, even if
that.
it is just like, one little bit of all the attention that they're getting. Like it's cool the president comes for stuff like that. So, you know, I can kind of see that that could be something to add to like motivation.
Yeah.
And then there's also like so many news outlets and like even on entertainment outlets, they talk about stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, when the movie theater thing happened, it was during a screening of The Dark Knight, and Christian Bale came and like visited people in the hospital who had been injured and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty cool.
obviously that, like, I don't think that's really glorifying the shooter necessarily, but like
Yeah.
I could see how like a narcissist would take it that way and be like,
Yeah.
I made that happen.
Yeah. Hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Do you think that this is a compelling argument, a convincing argument? What's successful about it or not successful about it? And please, other people than Julius can talk too. Julius, you can still talk, but other people can too.
Oh, wait a minute.
Just like, is it a compelling argument? What makes it compelling? What makes it convincing or not?
Um. So, I feel like it. It gives a lot of. It kind of just says we should stop doing this, but I feel like it doesn't really give like a strong reason why, and like it's hard to give examples where this like the exposure of a mass shooting and the shooter in specifically has prompted copycats,
Yeah.
because you don't really know, like I'm pretty sure they don't say usually why they do it, so it's hard to give it like really say this actually happens and this is actually like affecting the number of of shootings.
Yeah.
It really just says that shootings have increased,
Mhm.
but it's hard to like it's hard to blame media exposure for it.
Yeah. And I think like Tom brought up yesterday, if someone is interested in becoming a shooter, then they don't necessarily need the media to like hone in on who the shooters are and stuff about their lives. Like they're going to find the information and they don't necessarily need like more motivation. So leaving their names out of the media isn't necessarily going to do a ton of good. And I also think that like her clearest attempt at a counter argument is that last paragraph, and it's not very good. When she says, perhaps this is wrong, perhaps denying mass killers the attention they seek won't have any effect on this epidemic of violence, but what would be lost by trying?
Yeah, that's such a weak argument. Like,
It's an argument.
what's the harm? You know?
Exactly. Like, maybe we should just try. Well,
Yeah.
I think you need to convince us a little bit more. Um, and I think I don't know, certainly I wouldn't want to give anyone more attention, but I think like on behalf of like, you know, victims, families and things, I think it's sort of helpful to like know something about the person, or like at least to be able to like place blame. Um but I actually was just thinking when we were talking about Breonna Taylor, which like obviously this is not a mass shooting, but like a violent crime, and it was terrible. And so many people were like, don't talk about the cops that did it, talk about her, like she was the victim. And
Yeah.
I feel like that is really effective. Like I feel like it's so much more like it tugs at the heartstrings a lot more to
Yeah.
talk about her and like her life and the life that she won't get to have because of these cops. And same thing with George Floyd, actually. Um, like I couldn't tell you what those cops' names are. And you know, a lot of people would probably say like it's not worth knowing their names. And that you know, that might be right.
Yeah, I feel like they could have used like emotions as a argument, which would have been a lot more effective than why not.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. There should definitely be some pathos in this.
Yes.
Well, maybe like when you're talking about shootings, there's some inherent in the argument anyway, but like she could go further.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone else? Opinions about this? Nope. Well, those are all the questions I have. Any further thoughts or reflections on this?
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of interested. Recently, my brother has been visiting, and he's very into criminal psychology and stuff, and which kind of sparked something
Mm-hmm.
in with me. Um, so I think I don't know. I'm just interested in how, like, if these people were affected by the exposure of previous shootings,
Yeah, I'm
like
interested.
if they were and how much.
Yeah, like does it make actually that much of a difference to
Yeah.
like two shooters, and like if we had them here to ask, like would they say they were influenced by, you know, the fame that previous shooters got? And I have no idea.
Yeah.
Criminal psychology is super interesting.
Yeah, it is. Um, I was watch. I forgot what it's called, but there's this YouTube channel that goes over like random cases, but sometimes they're like bigger ones, and
Mhm.
they just like they just basically talk about the um what are they called? How am I forgetting this? The interrogations of
Mhm.
these people and how like the body language and how they're responding, like what that means. And there was like a 2 hour long one, and it was pretty interesting. Um,
Are you talking about JCS?
yes, yes, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Might look into.
it's they're pretty interesting because like it's all the interrogation videos,
Mhm.
and then he's talking about like here you see the suspect, you know, shift, which indicates whatever, and yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That would be interesting. Okay, I want to look into it and look. There's this one case that, like, I've watched a couple of documentaries on, the Jodi Arias case where
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, that's the 2 hour one.
Oh my gosh, because when she was being interrogated, she was insane, and
Yeah.
like, once they left the room, she like started
She would like,
stood on her head.
yeah, that's so weird. Unfortunately, I don't think he talks about that so much because like I don't think you really need to. That's just like weird.
Yes.
Everyone can see that that's strange,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I'm just
it's a
like,
pretty
what's her like, what's the goal? Like, she knows that she's being recorded, presumably. Like, we all know that interrogations are recorded. So, like, what was she hoping to accomplish by
No,
being
I'm
so
pretty sure I'm pretty sure this guy mentions that she doesn't know that it's being recorded, or there's like an old recording device that's left on the table. And then like the interrogator was like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't work. That's just broken." To like be and he talks about the guy talks about how the interrogator and the investigator does this to like build trust between them for future
Why
things,
should I
because another interrogator comes in and is like the bad cop, and
Yeah.
then the other investigator comes back in and then builds this trust,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
remember
really interesting.
that with her actually, that like she was like kind of hostile towards the female interrogator
Yeah,
and like would really open up with the guy that was there. And so he was like, let's stick with that. Like I'll build some trust with her. I'll be good cop, you be bad cop. So
yeah,
she's like reacting that way anyway.
yeah. Those are intense though. They're so
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, when I watched that video, I had to kind of take it in chunks, like I would leave and then come back to the video because I just couldn't take it. Like
Yeah.
such an annoying human being. I'm sorry. Like
And
it's
it was such a long video too. Like
yeah.
I watched it over several days. It's pretty intense.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I didn't watch like the whole video. There's like these things on Hulu, American Murder Story, and they're each like 1 hour or so documentaries about like some famous crime cases over the last 30 years or so. So I watched that. I mean, I remember when that happened, but I don't think I was like, I don't know. I don't know how old I was. I didn't care about it at the time, I guess, but such a weird one, such a weird case.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to look into that. That's really interesting that like people's body language and
Mhm.
um we're talking about like the mindset that you have to be in to even think like, oh, that's a cool thing to replicate. Like if I'm just looking for attention, maybe I should kill a bunch of people. Like there's some other stuff you could do first.
Yeah,
And get a new haircut, get a tattoo, I don't know, do something else. But that's, like a criminal mindset. Normal people don't think that way. So
yeah.
any further ideas, reflections? Okay, well, I'm gonna let you guys go. Tomorrow we're gonna get our big research paper assignment, and we'll go through it pretty in depth tomorrow. And either tomorrow or Thursday, I'll show you guys more about like using the online databases because they'll be super, super helpful. But that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.